Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, depending on where you are in the world. Welcome to the first ever DeepCrawl webinar. I'm Anna Morrison, Marketing Manager here at DeepCrawl, and I'll be your host for today. We also have the lovely Alec Bertram, founder at Allotment Digital. Welcome, Alec.
Hello.
So Alec has a wealth of experience with e-commerce brands, such as Maplean and Vodafone, and he's kindly agreed to share his knowledge with us on how to optimize e-commerce websites. In particular, the challenges you may have with faceted navigation. We're also joined by our very own Michal, Head of Product here at DeepCrawl. Hi, Michal.
Hi there.
Michal will share some tips on how to use DeepCrawl in a creative way to make it easier for you to optimize your website by showing us some real-life examples that he's worked on. So today, we're going to look at faceted navigation because so many websites encounter these kind of problems, which could be affecting their SEO performance. And it seemed really relevant at this time of year as so many people prepare sections of their site for Cyber Monday and the January sales. So we'll look at the common issues with category systems, which mean that e-commerce sites don't rank as well as they could. We'll be looking specifically at how you can identify these issues with your site and how to fix them, starting with how search engines work, common crawl and indexation issues, common issues in e-commerce sites, and then some case studies from Motor Legends and House of Fraser, and then detecting and monitoring problems with DeepCrawl, and then how to fix your facet system. So to kick things off, I'll hand you over to Alec.
Okay, so we're going to be talking about faceted navigation a lot today. So I guess it's really important to know before we even begin what a faceted navigation system is. So it's this. This is an e-commerce website selling dresses, obviously, and the faceted navigation here is on the left side. You can see the user will be able to filter by whatever product attributes they actually want. Here we have style, brand, size, and all sorts of things. So yeah, the other important thing to know before we begin is how search engines actually work. So a lot of the issues we're going to face have to do with how search engines interact with your site. So basically, it's a crawler, for the search engine crawler, will visit your site and work its way through every page on your site. And basically, it'll just save the pages into a temporary database. Later on, an indexer will come along, take all of that data and sort of crunch it. It'll throw out a lot of bad pages, a lot of duplicates, a lot of empty pages, and put the good stuff into the index. When a user makes a search query, the search engine will take whatever it can, which is relevant to that search query from the index, and rank it into a search result page. So, a lot of the issues that we see as SEOs have to do with, a lot of technical issues anyway, have to do with either crawl or indexation. So the first issue that we encounter most commonly is crawl waste. So this has to do with crawl budget. So essentially, crawl budget is the amount of pages that a web crawler will visit when it crawls your website, and it basically works by page rank. So as a crawler works its way through your website, or distributes PageRank to each page, and the more levels it goes through, the less and less PageRank it'll distribute. Once it gets to a certain threshold, it will just stop crawling. So there might be important pages past that threshold that will never be crawled because you've exhausted your crawl budget. So forcing a crawler to visit too many pages effectively means that some of your pages will be crawled less often, and potentially changes won't be found for a long time. And to illustrate the next few points, we've got this website is an e-commerce site. Again, it's about dresses, and this is quite a good page. As you can see, it's about dresses. All the meta is about dresses. All the pictures there are little dresses for triangle people. And yeah, it's good from an SEO perspective. The first sort of indexation problem that we have is duplication. This is one of the most common. It's when your website has a lot of pages which are very, very similar to each other. The crawler will visit all of these pages, but only one of them will make them into the index, into the main index anyway. And essentially, this is a problem because A, you're wasting crawl budget, as we just discovered, but you're diluting your website authority across a huge number of pages that don't make it into the index. We look at our e-commerce example again. This is most commonly when a filter is selected. So here, evening dresses. But the page retains all of the same meta, all of the same headings, maybe the same description snippet, but it just changes the actual products displayed. This is a very close duplicate. Obviously, the products change, but everything else about the page stays the same as the main category page. So essentially, you end up with something like this. Every single page within the category competes for the same dresses term. This website probably won't rank for things like party dresses or evening dresses because all the pages say dresses. The next problem is under-indexation. So this is when either Spider won't be able to crawl a set of pages. So that might be because the page is made with JavaScript. It might be because there's a no-follow or a Robots.txt disallows stopping crawlers from accessing that page. Or it's because an indexer can't index the page, so it might have canonical somewhere else, or a no index. We'll explore that a little bit later. But as a quick example, like I said, this is either the page canonicalizes somewhere else or has no index, or it's generated with crawler unfriendly JavaScript. Crawlers can render some JavaScript, but a lot of it they can't. And the last main problem is over-indexation. So this is when crawlers can access a huge amount of information on your website. And it's all unique enough that it makes it into the index, but these pages aren't that useful to users. So there might be things that are so specific that users will never search for them, or just the same as any other page on the website might give them. And in an e-commerce example, it's when a few different filters from each set are selected, and you end up with a really specific page. So something like red or black, DKNY, and Karen Millen evening and party dresses. But if you think about it, a user will probably never search Google for something that specific. So yeah, getting your indexation right, fixing these issues can really give you the opportunity to rank for a wider set of terms. If we look at one example, the DKNY evening dresses, every single page that ranks for this term is about specifically DKNY evening dresses, or at the very least DKNY dresses. It doesn't matter how authoritative your website is. If you've only got a page which is about dresses or evening dresses, you're never going to rank for this term, and so you're missing out on a lot of traffic. And these less authoritative websites can outrank you, which is the case here. If you know this industry, you'll notice a big brand missing from this results page. Yeah, now by fixing this, you are eligible to rank for a much wider range of terms. And some of these volumes might not look very big. So you've got DKNY evening dresses there. It has a monthly search volume of 50 people. 50 people a month search for this term, as opposed to just generic dresses, which has 800,000. But the people that are searching for the more specific products, they generally have a much higher purchase intent than those who are just searching to look at pictures of dresses.
And across hundreds of thousands of these terms, the longer terms you may have, the total volume and visits could create the outrank, the main phrases. And from my experience in some industries, it should be over 90% should come from the long tail.
Yeah, so we've just chosen a few keywords here, but if you were to roll this out across your whole site, you've got a lot more products, a lot more attributes than just brand and style. We're going to look at a couple of examples now, to kind of illustrate this and show you how to work it out on your own site. So Motor Legend is an e-commerce website, and they sell basically high-end motorcycle gear. This is their AGV helmets page. So AGV is a brand of helmets, of motorcycle helmets. And basically this is the only AGV helmets page which is indexable. If you look to the left, you'll see that they have a lot of different facets, so they can do it by color, style, or model. But crawlers can't crawl those links, and indexers can't index those pages. So potentially they're missing out on a lot of search traffic. If we take all of the brand names and match them with the models, we can see that in total for all of these brands and models, there are about 11,000 searches a month. This is just in the UK as well, so it's just their market. If we use a CTR curve and take maybe 9% click-through rates, if you get to the top of page 1, we see about 1,000 users a month will click on them, and so that's about 12,000 a year will visit their website if they could rank at the top of page 1 for all of these terms. If we take just an average AOV and conversion rates, we can see that in essence, if they were to rank for all of these terms at the top of page 1, they could make an extra £88,000 a year in revenue extra just by opening these 2 facets. I'm not saying that they're definitely going to by doing this, but that gives you an idea of the market, the potential that's there. The next is a nationwide electronics retailer. They sell all sorts of things, mostly consumer electronics, and they have a similar problem to Motor Legends. So none of their facets are indexable. You can see here they have the same brand filter that Motor Legends does, and none of these are indexable or crawlable. If we run those all through AdWords, we can see that there's some pretty significant search volume for these terms that they could rank for just by fixing it, as I said. But what else is there? If we look back to the page, we can see that all of these products are very technical. These are graphics cards, and just by looking at the product titles, I've picked out that there are a lot of attributes, things like the model name, the memory capacity, the memory type, the type of connector it has, the output, all sorts of things, which they don't even have filters for at the moment, but users are potentially searching for these. So by a few different attributes and just sort of mixing them all up to see what type of, mix them all up to see what volume these keywords have, we can see that this website really should probably have a lot more attributes and indexable pages, because this is obviously how people search. The top one here, I think, is PCI graphics card, which they don't rank for at all because they don't have a page for PCI graphics card. They sell plenty of them, but they don't have a page for that. So they could potentially make a lot of money. Next up, we have House of Fraser, which I guess this is the good case study in all of the best case study in all of these. House of Fraser have a really quite a nice system where they've thought things through and are able to rank for a lot of terms because of it. So this is the dresses page, as we looked at before. The URL is essentially women's dresses. It's not that, but that's representative of it. And the content is all about dresses. So it's the meta, the heading, they've even got description there. When you click on a filter, so to select cocktail dresses, everything changes to be about cocktail dresses, the heading, the meta. Obviously, all of the products do. They've got a little issue there with the heading content, but we'll get to that later. And once you select a brand, it changes everything again. So the heading's about Phase 8 cocktail dresses, so is the meta, and obviously all of the products are. Another good thing that they do is after one filter in a group is selected, they will no follow all the rest of the filters in that group. This is because we don't want search engines finding pages like cocktail and maxi dresses or cocktail maxi and tunic dresses, but we do want them finding things like Phase 8 cocktail dresses, which is a brand. And once the user has selected attributes from too many facet groups, so down here we have Phase 8 black sleeveless cocktail dresses. House of Fraser think that's just a bit too complex, and by letting crawlers access all of those pages, it's gonna give them index bloat, so they're just gonna have a lot of useless pages in the index. So they stop crawlers from crawling anymore after 3 filters have been selected. The one thing that's wrong with this is that while crawlers can't access those pages, so after 3 filters are selected, they can't access it. There's a no follow there. But if anyone else was to link to that page, it is indexable. So they potentially can, and they actually do have some index bloat in there from crawlers discovering these pages, even though they can't discover them through the website. So if we were to make one recommendation, it would be for this website to no index or canonicalize these pages, or even use a robots.txt disallow to stop crawlers ever crawling them.
So worth pointing out at this point that the no follow attribute won't guarantee that Google won't crawl and follow these pages. So adding some additional tags like canonical or no index would definitely could help.
All right. Well, thanks, Alec. So we've seen some of the problems. I'm now going to pass you over to Michal to look at how DeepCrawl can help you to detect and monitor some of these issues and the various ways you could approach tackling these problems.
So the 3 issues is being the under-indexation, over-indexation, and duplication. So I wanted to show you some real examples how the site architecture may look like, and the kind of difficulties Google may experience with some of the issues, and as well show some techniques which can help you. Which DeepCrawl can help you to identify and fix these issues. So the first is under-indexation, and this is an example of web crawl dev graph. So you can see in here, it starts from one page on homepage, going to a number of pages on level 2, which is one click from homepage, and goes. And here it's a nice green shape, and you can see the number of pages which are indexed. Now the question is it enough pages or not enough? Obviously, you can compare it to your market research and identify the missing pages. But you can as well, using DeepCrawl, compare you against competitors. So if you complete the same crawl for a few market leaders, maybe, and compare the number of pages which are available per level, in this case, you can actually very clearly see that this website which has been analyzed is far behind all of the competitors in the market, and they've got far many pages. You can see that this is actually a leader on this market, had almost 500,000 good unique pages available within 5 levels, and the analyzed website had just about 10,000. You can take a header, and you can use metrics like the indexation ratio. So you can see how many unique pages you introduce per level, and you can see very quickly in here that this website starts quite well, quite a lot of unique pages on first level, but you can see it's cuts off on level 3. And in this particular case, it is exactly the issue Alec mentioned before. It's a case with Ajax links which are not available for Google to crawl, and you can see that they are missing out on a lot of opportunities, a lot of pages which their competitors provide, and outrank them. Another issue you can see very clearly in DeepCrawl is what we call heavy canonicalisation. So you provide a lot of links to pages which are not indexable, and they're canonical to different pages, which Alec showed some of the examples before. And you can see the results of it. So the DeepCrawl crawled almost 1 million URLs for this particular website, and just 2,000 of them were unique. And this is exactly what Google will have to go to just discover these 2,000 unique pages. So these are the only pages you have a chance to rank for. Yet Google had to spend days, if not weeks, to go through 1 million URLs. So you definitely want to avoid this type of issues. The next issue you may experience what we call infinite indexation. So these are the websites we will keep introducing pages which are non-indexable, and this will go just infinitely. So you even cannot complete the full crawl. And again, these are exactly the issues Google will experience in trying to find the good content on your website. In this particular example, you can see that we crawled first 5 levels, which was about 100,000 URLs. And you can see that the next level is next 3 million of these pages, which are very likely to be non-indexable as well. So you can just imagine how difficult for Google would be, even if they wanted to rank your website for some queries, how difficult it would be for them to find these good pages. And another example of indexation, that's quite funny graph, and you can see that there's a hardcode limit in DeepCrawl of 100 levels. But if it wasn't, it would just go forever, and it would just keep finding these new non-indexable pages. Example how you can actually try to fix these issues using something like Robots.txt. So this is actually a good example of a website and the trend and the changes which have been applied to the website. So you can see that initially this website was experiencing the under-indexation issue, and you can see very few pages have been indexed. After they released a new website which introduced a better site architecture, you can see a few crawls completed in here on the test environment. And suddenly they introduced another issue, which was the over-indexation. So suddenly they introduced too many pages, and you can see the few iterations of fixes applied to the website using Robots.txt, which I will come to it in a second, and the kind of right balance and the right amount of pages they ended up with at the end of this process. So how you can use DeepCrawl to find the scope of your website? So you can crawl it, identify the pages which are duplicated, and once you identify some patterns, you can use something like robots override functionality, where you can kind of mimic how the website would behave if you add this, for example, this rule, which is disallowing the sort order, and you can crawl it and test it crawl it in a kind of safe mode. So the DeepCrawl will tell you exactly all of the URLs which have been disallowed by this rule. Once you've kind of applied all the rules and tested them, you can confidently release them to your live website. And the diffing functionality will tell you all the differences. So just to ensure that you won't disallow any of the good pages. The next example, very common, heavy duplication. So this is the kind of graph you would see. And again, 500,000 URLs crawled, and just 40,000, less than 10% of them were unique. Most of them were duplicated, which is exactly some of the issues Alec were describing before. How you can use DeepCrawl to kind of fix or to detect and kind of fix this duplication error. So as we've seen in a previous slide, there was 400,000 duplicate URLs. Now, if you were to pass the whole list to any the development team, they wouldn't know what to do with it. There's just too many of them. It's hard to really digest. So what you can do, you can start using the matches functionality. So you can start kind of identifying the patterns which may be causing duplication. So in this case, I can identify maybe first pattern, which is the sort order, which in this case was causing duplication. Once I identify it, I can filter all the duplicate pages to just the ones which were caused by sort equals parameter. Now, after I can create an issue just for these URLs. Once created, I can track it over time. So as soon as I can pass it to the developers, and as soon as I recrawl, I can see if it is fixed or not. And I can keep going and keep excluding the issues which have been identified, which I have done in here, just actually sort and order. So I can go through the whole list, going by exclusions. And as a result of it, rather than having 400,000 URLs, I may have like 20 patterns which are causing duplications across these 400,000 URLs. So I can ended up with nice clean list of 20 issues which can be passed to developers, and after using the diffing functionality, you can track if they have been fixed or not. Example, duplication. This is the multi-parent category, which is causing duplication. One highlight, DeepCrawl has their own score, DeepCrawl, which kind of mimics the Google PageRank algorithm, but is restricted to your internal site architecture and allows you to identify the primary URLs, which very often help to actually fix the issue, because you know which direction, for example, you have to set up the meta-canonical. We report duplications, which is duplicate pages, titles, and body content. So you kind of try to approach it from all three angles. These three reports are exclusive. So if you're looking at duplicate titles, you can be sure that just titles are duplicated. Coming to something like over-indexation, this is another example where this graph looks quite nice and it is green. But very often there might be some hidden issues, even if it's green. So the pages, what green shows that they're unique and return to 100 status, but there is nothing about the quality of these pages. So I'm going to show you a few techniques you can use with DeepCrawl to actually identify the thin content, which is very difficult to spot because, as I said, it returns to 100. So one thing you can do, you can use custom extractions to extract number of products per category or per different facets selection. So in this case, you can see that there's 5,365 products, and you can write a very simple custom extraction like this, and that's the result. So you can see, I can see all the URLs and the number of products which each of these URLs return. So I can quickly identify the ones which return 0 results, and that's the example. And that, because this page would return to hundreds, is very difficult to spot otherwise. Another example of kind of very page which is kind of thin and lacking some content. And two reports you may look at to identify those type of pages would be the mean content to HTML ratio report and mean content size report. Both of these reports are fully customizable, so you can see that the thresholds are 3 kilobytes for mean content and 10% for mean content to HTML ratio, but you can adjust it to kind of fit your market. One highlight on crawling test sites. So each of whenever you apply any change, you can pre-test it on a test site. So you can see in here, you can provide the test site domain, and after you can just select it when you start new crawl, and you'll get the direct comparison between live and test environments. So each change, you can pre-test it on preview. Once you're happy with all the fixes, you can confidently release it live. And that's ultimately the goal. So this is an example of a perfect architecture. So you can see a very green shape, and you can see that most of the pages are available within first 5 levels. So it's about 4 or 5 clicks from the home page. It tails off after the level 7 and 8. So most of the pages are available within 7, 8 clicks. The whole green of good quality, unique and indexable.
Thanks, Michal. Okay, so now we're going to look at some of the potential solutions for fixing any issues with your facet system. So I'll pass you back over to Alec now.
You need to fix there are 3 basic things that you're going to need to do no matter who you work for. The first one is a bit of research. So you need to find the product attributes that people actually search for. This might not necessarily be what you have already. You might need to expand on it, or you might have too many facets that people don't search for. You have to create a business case. Some of the fixes are going to have to quite fundamentally change the way your category system works, depending on your setup now. And it's going to cost money. So calculating the potential revenue uplift is going to be important. And then finally, creating a decent functional spec so that your developers can implement a good system without you having to sit next to them all day long, every day. So we'll go through all of those. The first is the market research, finding the product attributes that people actually search for. The main one that I use is internal site search. So what are people searching your website for? Which product attributes? Another one is customer query data. So this means more if they ask questions over the phone or in store, ideally you want to be capturing those and using them in your SEO anyway. So if you've got access to those, that's great. Manufacturer spec sheets. So particularly with technical products, like I showed you the graphics cards before, there are a lot of technical things that you might not think people search for, but what your users actually might find quite important. And then obviously primary research, just asking people what do they find most important in that product category.
And just to add to this, you can as well use DeepCrawl to extract some of the main taxonomies or list of facets on your website, or even you can crawl your competitors and get the taxonomies they used on their website. And by combining maybe extractions from few websites, you can end up with the most comprehensive list across all the facets.
So that's another shortcut. Your competitors probably have some that you might have missed. Once you've got all of those, chuck them into a few keyword tools. I particularly like keywordtool.io. Although there's also Ubersuggest. You want to merge a lot of different product attributes together. Merge words is great for that, and then obviously throw them all through the keyword planner to find which actually gets searched. Once you've got your ideal category page list, you want to see your current rankings. If you don't rank on page 1 for them, then there's obviously a lot of potential there. If you don't rank in the top 5, there's some. So take the search volume for those keywords and CTR curve. So I like to use sort of between 7 and 9% for the top of page 1, sort of positions 1 to 5. Take your current conversion rate and average order value, and you should be able to come up with a sort of potential incremental revenue of fixing this and being able to rank for these terms. So ideal category page behavior. This is more building a decent functional spec for your developers. You need to have all of this functionality to have sort of a good category system. First one is obviously have unique meta and headings for all of your category pages, and you want to have that for every kind of permutation. So when people select reds, you want to show reds in the heading and in the meta. That'll make you eligible to rank for the term red DKNY evening dresses in this case. But obviously you don't want unique pages for every single combination of selected facets. This is one which House of Fraser does well. Once one of your filters has been selected, you want to no follow the rest of them. Crawlers from accessing that, but also no index those pages just in case the crawler does land on it, or use Robots.txt to disallow crawling altogether. The next one is to no index and no follow some attributes. So you never really want to have sorting or ordering options indexed or crawled. Same with things like delivery options. No one's ever going to search Google for those, so why would you make them indexable? The maximum number of facet groups. So normally people will search Google for sort of the top 3 or 4 of the core attributes that they're looking for. Sure, some people might be looking for size 8, and some people might not be searching by sizes at all. So setting a maximum can get a good combination of every filter, but without bloating the index with millions and millions of pages. And ideally, you'll end up with something like this. Every page in your category system will be targeting a different long tail term. And like we showed you before, that's really what you need to rank for some of these terms. You're never going to rank for the term DKNY evening dresses if you only have a dresses page. Nice. You know, some filters could never really be indexable, particularly, well, in the recruitment industry, for instance. full-time is always the default. If people are looking for a job, it's full-time unless they specify part-time. So you don't want a full-time facet to be indexable there. But you definitely do want a part-time one because that is quite a popular search term. When you're templating your page headings, you need to check and test the logic really carefully. We've got this example that obviously it's something that's gone under the radar, and they've ended up with pages like facet, maxi, dresses, which is a nonsense term that no one's ever going to search for, and they could improve their relevancy by fixing this template. And while you can template page headings, you shouldn't use templated content snippets. This looks weird, it looks really spammy. This is the type of thing that could trigger a Panda sort of algorithm. So yeah, I would definitely stay away from templating any kind of longer content than a heading, but have the functionality in there if you do want to go in and put unique content on the page. That's great to spec that in while you're getting the templates changed anyway. And URL consistency. So one of the main things that can happen is that the order of the path elements or URL variables can just be in whatever order they're selected, which creates duplication. Obviously, search engines consider any unique URL a unique page, even though they could have the exact same content. So watch out for that and make sure all your URLs are consistent. So yeah, these are the 6 main points that I've just gone through. Have unique meta content and headings for every facet, and ensure that they make sense. Make sure the main combinations of facets that people search for are crawlable and indexable, but only make one selection from every set of filters indexable. Once one of them has been selected, no follow all the rest in that set, so that search crawlers can't access kind of pages which no one ever searches for. Enforce sort of parameter and path ordering in URLs, and set a maximum number of groups which filters can be selected from. This could be between sort of 3 and 5 depending on your industry, but once you get further than that, you're going to end up with sort of hundreds of thousands, even millions or tens of millions of indexable pages, which is not where you want to be. Basically everything. The kind of next steps for you is to go away and analyze whether or not you have an issue with your current setup. Over-indexation is one of the most common ones, but as is under-indexation or duplication. Research what product attributes people actually search for. So even if you think that you don't have an issue, I'd do this one anyway, because it could be that you are missing out on a lot of traffic because you don't have pages for some terms which people search for. If you do have a problem, you need to prepare for it. So work out the potential revenue uplift by finding out what you could make by ranking for all these terms. Create a functional spec for the development team, and then benchmark. So create crawl, traffic, and visibility benchmarks for your entire category system. This becomes important later on, and especially the most important part of this is testing. Category systems, as we've shown, is something that can go horribly wrong and either make or break your visibility. So you want to be testing a lot. Test the development site, staging site, production site. Use DeepCrawl and test the development site against the production site to make sure nothing's changed, and obviously monitor your benchmarks.
Cool. Wow, thanks guys. So there certainly are a lot of pitfalls to avoid. We have a question come through on Twitter from @edgyseo. I'm not sure which one of you wants to answer this one first. So what about thin pages or Panda issues when you allow indexing of all those filter pages?
Okay, yeah, so that's, I think, what's gear? I think I'm saying that right. I think what he's getting at is by by taking sort of, if you have, let's call it 20 category pages indexable at the moment, and you allow all of your filters to be indexed, you could easily get up to what, 5,000, maybe 10,000 pages, depending on how many product attributes and things you have. And that's could sort of trigger a Panda issue, because all of these pages don't have a lot of sort of textual content on them. All we're saying is you should have a heading. That's essentially what we've said in this presentation.
So that's exactly an over-indexation issue, where you allow too many facets to be indexed, or too many combinations, because there are two angles to it. So first is what facets you want to make indexable, and second one, what combinations of facets you want to make indexable. So in some cases, it's as easy as kind of limiting the number of facets can be indexed at the same time. In some industries, it's more complicated, and you have to kind of pick and choose exactly some of the combinations which are indexable. Using DeepCrawl, so obviously you don't want to get the empty pages indexed. So in the facets, you should always get the link only to the ones which produce to return some product. As we showed with DeepCrawl, using the custom extractions by extracting number of products a category, you can very easily identify the pages which are allowed for Google to crawl, but the content is not good enough, or just empty.
Yeah, and I mean, if you are looking at purely on a page level, whether it's thin or not, just having not a lot of textual content doesn't make it thin. If someone's looking for a list of red dresses and you've given them a list of red dresses, that's a fairly valuable page, assuming that you've done it right. Just because the heading is only red dresses, and that could be the only text on the page. If it's a good user experience and you haven't got any sort of over-indexation issues, then that's kind of, it's fine.
So it's all about the balance. It has to be just the right amount of pages indexable. So as Alec pointed out, starting from market research and after creating the architecture, which basically reflects what people are searching for, so you have exactly the right amount of pages, not too many and not too little.
Okay, great. So just to let you know, there is some pre-written regex on our website under the guides section, and we are almost certainly going to be doing a live version of this webinar in the form of a workshop in London and New York in the new year. So please tweet at DeepCrawl or email info@DeepCrawl if you're interested in getting involved. I think that's all we've got time for. So thanks very much for watching, and we'll see you again next time.